Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Resilient Immigrant Knowledge as Power series. If you watched our previous episodes in the past, thank you for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. At Resilient Immigrant, we are a community. Our mission is to empower, encourage, and evolve the lives of African immigrants through knowledge sharing, professional development, and storytelling. Today, we have a very important topic to discuss. It is the role of entrepreneurship in global development. And I have two wonderful guests who bring a wealth of experience and knowledge in this field. They'll be sharing their experiences, discussing challenges, as well as offering valuable advice that we immigrants can use to navigate our individual or collective journeys. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to let the guests introduce themselves. So, because we are gentlemen on this group, I'm going to let the lady go first. So, Lexis, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lexis, and I am the founder and managing accountant of LV Advisory Group. We offer small businesses financial and financial services and also business services to help expand your business, also do accounting, bookkeeping work, and also help with personal finance while you're building your business up and also looking to scale your business. I'm really excited to be here with you all today.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Yarrow, could you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Williams. Good evening. It's a pleasure for me to be here today. And I want to welcome you all the participants from the world, everywhere, Africa, United States, from Europe. Good evening to you, good morning, and good afternoon. My name is Mumin Yaro. I'm a senior supply chain specialist in global health, working for Emory University, based here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally from Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire in West Africa. And my capacity at Emory is to facilitate the drug donation program by managing logistics, supply chains, building capacity, and providing technical support to Ministry of Health. Um, Thank you so much for this opportunity. I know that you understand the importance of building capacity within the immigrant community. So today it's a pleasure for me to share my experience with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. Yarrow. And my name is William Otobor. I'm just a humble moderator for this episode today. Right. So let's get right into it. Keeping in line with us being gentlemen, so Lexi, I'm going to pose the first question to you. In your work with the LV Advisory Group, how have you seen entrepreneurship help immigrants and African immigrants specifically achieve financial independence in their new countries?
I think entrepreneurship as a whole provides a different lane to receive access capital to help their families in the States, but also send money home. I think that when you propose entrepreneurship to immigrant, it's kind of scary because you're already taking a large leap coming to a new country. So it can be hard to stomach, like, okay, wait, now you want me to be an entrepreneur and struggle and hear all the crazy, scary things that come along with entrepreneurship. But it's twofold, right? Because for one, you get the freedom and you're not pressured to have to go back to school. You're using the skills that you have already attained in your previous country and now applying it to this new country and seeing how you can scale yourself and also create this type of generational wealth that will really set your family up for generations to come, but most importantly, give you that freedom to go back home for months if you want to and take care of property and land that you have over there. So that's really important. And then also, um, two is that like it allows you to join different industries, right? Like some people, we were speaking yesterday about like taxis specifically and how some people choose to come to the country and do what their family has done before. And that's a great thing. And you can use that skill, but you can also be an entrepreneur while using that skill and not work for someone else. So it's a great opportunity for yourself to scale. Um, Challenge yourself. And if you already took that leap of faith, then you're strong enough and you have the willpower to join entrepreneurship as well.
Thank you. I think there were a lot of different topics that you touched on there that I think we're going to come back to in a second here. But let me go to Mr. Yarrow. So, Mr. Yarrow, for you, how was your experience in, like supply chains and global supply chains, especially within like the health sector? How has that shaped your view on how entrepreneurship can drive development, for immigrants in the new country? Could you just share some of your experience in that area with us today?
Yes, absolutely. That's a very good question. My experience in the international development, particularly in the global health supply chain management, has shown me that entrepreneurship is a powerful tool for development, especially in a new country like America, a land of opportunities. As a French speaker, right, immigrant in the US, I leveraged my language skills. I understood that, the global health here, they need to talk to, the Francophone countries, and, not having that skill here on the country here, I, you know, I took that opportunity, to sell my skills to the organizations. Also, I have seen firsthand, how understanding the complexity of supply chain allows, one to identify gaps and opportunities. So for instance, in coordinating, drug donation program, a large drug donation program, I realized that the efficient logistic can significantly improve health outcomes, especially where I'm from. We don't see, logistics in public health. We don't see logistics in health sector. We don't really understand that those professionals can play an important, a pivotal role, in advancing global health. So this insight is transferable, to other sectors, any sectors. I'm not going to give, those sectors here, but anybody can identify any sector. So those skills are transferable. So by addressing, specific local needs through innovation, solutions, entrepreneurship can drive sustainable development in any new environment. So here, my experience, and especially traveling back on the continent where I go to facilitate, capacity building exercise, facilitate, workshop, also assessment. I have seen a huge opportunity for us immigrants working here, living here in America, to train ourselves, to educate ourselves, and go back on the continent to close the gaps in many sectors. So, for instance, I would say the country where I'm from, I never heard that there was a professional, a profession called, you know, global health supply chain. We don't have that training there. You understand what I mean? So coming here, even though I didn't have a healthcare background, but with my logistic, my supply chain, my international trade skills, when my employer was able to transform me, to use my skill, transfer it into this health sector and be useful to advance public health. So those are the opportunity that everybody can, undertake.
Wonderful. There's something that, but in your both of your responses, you guys touched on like skills, right? That's something that, you both touched on. And just from my experience, right? When a lot of African immigrants come to the US, like there's this, at least in the African community anyway, there's sort of like this, I don't know whether it's like a stereotype or whatnot that says, this whatever you learned back in Africa, you can't really like bring that here. Like you have to like start afresh, basically. So Lexi, let me come back to you because you sort of like raised it up first. So how should immigrants think about like the skills that they have, maybe from either work that they've had when they were back in Africa or wherever, and coming here and like translating those skills to like either entrepreneurship or even job opportunities that they could get here in the US. So like, can you just like just touch on that a little bit from what you've seen in your experience within the LV group and how like Africans can leverage some of the skills that they've learned back home to bring here and then use that to like develop either a business or even like in the job market as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from my experience, it comes to mindset from what I've seen and actually communicating with folks and on the finance side, it's all mindset. Like to say, oh, I need to start over, like those are all limiting beliefs. I think that it's you feel like you have to because you feel like an imposter. Like you come from whatever country you decide to emigrate from and you come to the US and you just feel like an imposter. I don't speak the language. Maybe you didn't go to school. Maybe you didn't go to uni. Maybe you had to go work really early in age, so you didn't get to finish high school, right? Like whatever your situation was, now you come here and you're like, oh my goodness, I am even more of an imposter here than I am at home. And it's easy to say, okay, like let me go just take this $15 an hour job or, whatever that minimum wage is in your city. I'm New York based, so 15, $16 here, right? And I'm just gonna pay my way because at the end of the day, this is more than what I had at home. But did
Mhm.
you come here for that job? Or did you come here to do more? And if you came here to do more, right, you have to be patient with yourself to figure it out, right? Like you have to learn the language a little bit, then you have to network a little bit. And then once you join these different communities and you get to know these different people, about like 60% of job opportunities come from networking, not educational background, right?
Hmm.
Like that's helpful. It's not certifications, it's helpful, right? But like
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
see these Ivy League, like top schools, right? Top experience, and they still can't find a job. But it's important to know, like, if you can network your way in here and you have, again, that willpower to come into this country and start over, then I know for a fact, like, you can definitely build yourself up to put yourself in a different position than just simply being a minimum wage worker or just working your way up for 20 years to get the pension and the American dream. Like the American dream looks a lot different. And now that American dream is turning into entrepreneurship, which is an amazing opportunity for immigrants to get ahead because before the pensions, the unions and all that stuff, that is experience based, it's education based, but now the game has changed.
Wonderful. And like thank you for sharing that, because that was like I think valuable insights that that I got from your submission. I want to switch now to Mr. Yaro, because even like Alexis, you mentioned it as well with like immigrants have like that language barrier when they first come here and things like that. So Mr. Yaro, for you, like coming from a French country to like an English speaking country, that must have been some kind of shock, right? To go from an environment where everyone's, you're very familiar with the language, and then you come into a new country, like it's English. I don't know, like if you guys learned English back in Cote d'Ivoire or whatnot. And but what was that like for you, and how did you turn that seeming like language barrier to an advantage that helped you, like push on in your drive for entrepreneurship?
Oh my God, that's a embarrassing situation experience, but I will share that. When I first came to America here, after 2 months, I made a decision to return back to Ivory Coast
Mm.
Wow.
because I couldn't understand anything of what people were saying.
Wow.
It was like blah 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 blah. You can't hear anything. I was told to watch TVs, to watch movies, but I sit in front of TV for hours. I don't understand anything. I was frustrated. You know what I mean? I was frustrated, and I wanted to go back, but I understood that coming in this country here, you have to identify your key strengths, pillars to advance. This is a country of big dreams, of opportunities. So, not having the English skills, first I decided to go to school and learn the language. And when my fellow Africans, immigrants were telling me, well, you are wasting time going to school. I said, no. I'm in the country like I want to, I see the country like a car, a vehicle, right? I have a permit to drive. I have a car. I need to have good wheels.
Mhm.
The tires that I need is the language. The language will help me to go far where I want to go. And I'm glad I made that decision. I took 2 years of my time to go learn English, basics English, before going to college. And also, coming here, we have a stereotype. I was ashamed to tell to people at my job that I have a master's degree because of the job I was doing,
Wow.
a house job. That's what I was told. You had to go do, labor job, warehouse job. That's all you can do. That's true, because language barrier cannot allow me to do the job I wanted to do with my degree. So I
Hmm.
was ashamed to tell to people that I have a master's degree. But after learning the language, I understood a lot of things in the country, and I worked my way up. After 2 years, I got promoted. I went to college. I got another job, and today I am where I got where I wanted to be. I am where I wanted to be. So it's making a decision to educate yourself. That's key. You come into a new country, you have to be flexible and you have to adapt yourself. Understand the language is key. And today I'm glad, as I said, I made that decision. That's number one. Number two, coming here, most of us, we do the job of our parents we found here. If I come to America, my uncle is a taxi driver, I'm gonna be driving taxi car. If
Hmm.
my uncle is working, at McDonald's, I'm gonna be working there. I don't take the time to sit down, evaluate my skills, what I can offer to the market in America here, and better sell myself. Unfortunately, we don't have that. And also, what we are lacking, which is very important to me, is the network. Your network is your net worth.
Hmm. Yes.
Effectively, we come here, we have no network, we have no leaders, no mentors, nobody to coach us. Most of the time, 90% of the time, we make bad decisions. Some of them, maybe 20%, 25% will find their way out later after wasting 2, 5, 7 years. So this is a little experience that I wanted to share. And after I went through that experience myself, I decided to change the dynamic, to change this mindset. When I meet any new immigrants here, the advice I give him is education. I show him all the opportunities to get access to education, and I encourage him to go to college, to complete his education he has back home. That will help him to advance. There is nothing wrong with it. And we were told to wrong information. When we come here, we have to start all over again, which is wrong. I found that later. But after 4 years, I found out that it was the wrong information. We are told that when you come here, you have to go back again from high school, first year college, and work your way up. Even though you have a PhD, even though you have a master degree or a bachelor degree. I found so many Africans with master degrees, doctor, a PhD, being limo driver, sometimes work at the car farmers market, so and so. Unfortunately, for me, it's a waste of skill.
Wow, that's a really powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. And one of triumph as well, because you managed to overcome that barrier, and like you said, you are where you are today. So that's a really powerful story. Thank you for sharing. Lexus, I want to come back to you. So how has like your personal journey, right? Like including like overcoming whatever any challenge that you may have faced in your career. How has that influenced your approach to entrepreneurship? And what advice can you offer to to African immigrants from your story that they can use to navigate their way in a new country?
Yeah. So I think it's important to share that I'm a third generation American, right? So I didn't directly immigrate from anywhere, but my family did. And what I've seen was that they worked in the belt factories, right? Like we lived in the projects our whole lives. And when more of us came over, they all got a house together and we all lived in the same house, right? So it's pretty similar from that perspective. And as one began to trickle off, then, okay, now we got to find an apartment elsewhere. But, still projects. I'm first generation in my family to receive any college degree. And right now I'm going for my master's. So you could say, right, it does take years to figure it out, right? Third generation, I'm the first to figure out you'll go to school, you know,
Mhm.
go get an education. So it's from my experience, um, I have seen that for one, you really have to be resilient, right? Like no matter where you come from, everyone has a story. And when I was looking at these entrepreneurs and looking at these powerful speakers, I always used to be like, oh, they had it made. like, oh, their parents figured it out for them, like that's who put them on this platform, and et cetera, et cetera. And that was like a very ignorant approach to watching what they're saying and hearing their stories. And when I really started to listen, like actually actively listen to their stories and get to investigate and research their background a little bit more, everybody has a story. Everybody went through hardships to get to where they come. I mean, to where they go. And then we see them on these pedestals and we think they're an overnight success. So I'm like, if they did it, like I can do it. Like, maybe my background wasn't so bad, right? Or if theirs was if mine was worse, like, okay, if they could do it, I can still do it too, right? Like, I don't want to say like, oh, well, this experience is why. I never allowed any experience that I went through growing up to say, this is why I can't be X. This is why I can't be Y. It was more of like, this is why I can, because if I can get through this, I can definitely do
Yeah,
that,
exactly. Yeah.
right? And then when I went, so I interned at a Big Four when I was an undergrad, and they put us, it was a diversity led internship. So it was everyone from all over the country, all of minority status. And they put us in these think tanks with other professionals, seniors and up, to tell us their story. And what I realized, majority of them were immigrants, and they got their jobs from a corporation in their country. So, for instance, like that Big Fours was in Mexico. So she went in Mexico, like one of the seniors was in Mexico, got the job there, and then ended up coming to the US. So she didn't have to back her education or do any of that because they accepted it over there for her uni that she went to. So
Hmm.
there's different ways of going about it without having to restart. That's one. I also know that there's corporations specifically in Africa that they may have in Europe or other countries, and then people go there and then make their way to the US, right? Like there's another ways of going around it from that perspective. But then even there's also industries where if you were to learn US code or US specific skills through certifications and things like that, there are a lot of professionals that are offering them online, and then you can get US based clients and stay in your country or live by coastal. Like there's a whole multitude of different ways that you can go about it from my experience and just watching people blow up and supporting them along the journey from a business perspective and a finance perspective, that literally the world is in your hands. You just have to figure out based off of what you have, what your capabilities are. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about what your family says. Don't worry about what you don't have or the lack thereof. Think about what you need to get there and start thinking about those little steps you need to take to be able to get, whether it's money or experience or in the right door, or meet that one person. Um, that's my approach and what I did to make it to the top, or I'm not at nowhere near the top, but climb my way somewhere. Um, and I think it's a great way to use, especially as an immigrant.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And you both mentioned like mindset, right? And the importance of having the right mindset and not letting like either past experiences or any like stereotypes that people have of immigrants like impact how you think about or going for what you want to achieve in life, right? So Mr. Yura, I want to ask you transitioned from basically tech support to like managing like complex supply chains, right? So to me, I feel like to do that, you need to have like a very strong and positive a mindset, right? So, can you just like share with us like how like how did that happen for you? Like like what made you made that shift from tech to supply chain? Like what was the thought process there, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, thank you so much. Very interesting question. First and foremost, um, it's important to highlight that I already had a background in international business back home in Africa. I worked for 9 years in international, business. When I moved here, I worked 5 years as a for a large retail company, you know, doing procurement, some logistics activities and all of that. So I already had a background, a strong background in logistics, understanding, the Incoterms, the international terms for, transferring goods, understanding the logistics, the transportation, all of that. I didn't have a background in healthcare. So because English was a barrier for me, I decided to undertake a new career where I would not have to use English. So I decided to go to IT. So I went to school here. I got a degree. I was certified network engineer. So I worked for a large IT company here, IBM, and I had the opportunity there to use both language, English and French, because I was supporting Canadian, clients from Canada. That was an opportunity. I realized that I can use my French skill for any type of job, I want in America. And now I found a friend of mine who told me that, my current employer was looking for a person with background in logistics, understanding the continent, who travel Africa. I used to travel, Nigeria, Togo, Mali, all those countries before coming to America. So I took that opportunity. Even though I didn't have strong experience in healthcare, I was able to showcase my skills, in global supply chain management. And, it's cross training. I was trained, you know, um, to understand public health, to understand, the health sectors. So working here, I have learned key elements that I'm living with every day. And those skills are applicable in any type of sectors. So number one is collaboration. I understood. Look at the disease we are tackling. We call it neglected tropical diseases. Where do you find them? In Africa, most of the time. But we are based here. It takes collaboration, global collaborations. We manufacture, we manufacture a drug, okay, that move from one continent to another, and I would say, our supply chain and encompass 5 continents, from procuring, the active pharmaceutical ingredients, to manufacturing the medicines, transportation, the logistics, all of that. We visit the 5 continents to make drugs. We plan 12 months before a medicine gets to communities in Africa. We plan 12 months before that. And this is collaboration. It's a global effort. Every day I talk to colleagues in New York, in Geneva, India, China, Dubai, Africa. It's collaboration. That's key element. And this skill is very important for any entrepreneurs. Number one. Number two, adaptability. Most of the people are not from Africa. They adapt themselves when they go to Africa, and we define policies here. We define standard operating procedures, guidelines, everything. But when it comes to implementation, sometimes it doesn't fit. We have to adapt to the culture, to the local culture of people. And we plan all the logistics. We do forecast, 5 years forecast, 3 year forecast, 2 years, 1 year forecast, but we have to adapt it to the reality. This is adaptability. And also compassion. Oh my God, this is very powerful skill that I have learned in that global health. Compassion, right? For what we do. Are we compassionate for people who are getting service from us? People who are serving our customers, our patients, whoever, how you call them? We have to have compassion for them, right? And also resourcefulness. People think that money is there, sitting there, we don't know. We mobilize funds from everywhere, from UK, from America, from Geneva, from Europe. We bring all the money together to support global health. So those are just a few elements here I want to highlight. So entrepreneurship plays a crucial role in strengthening system by bringing innovative processes and solutions. For instance, for African immigrant like me, the knowledge I have gained from that experience can be applied to identify unmet needs. in our communities. This is an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship skill. How to understand the environment where you live, how you can identify problems and turn the problem into solutions and customize the solution to fit the need of your communities.
Yep. That's where businesses come from, right? Finding solutions to a problem, right? Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. So, Alexis, I want to come back to you. So, you've worked with through like LV Advisory. You've worked with like small businesses, like immigrant entrepreneurs as well. So, what are some of like the from your experience? What are some of the mistakes that you've seen? That people make. Like either starting a business or whatnot. That like really like holds them back, right? And how would you advise like new immigrants that are trying to become entrepreneurs to avoid those similar mistakes that end up being successful, basically? Yeah.
Yeah. So for one, and I want to touch on this because I see it in the chat, is looking like building your network, right? Like that is a big, I don't want to say a mistake because it's important, but the way it's brought about is in the wrong way. And I think this was touched on a little bit earlier as well. But when we're looking for mentors, right, we're looking to someone that we see as successful, right? What does success look like? It's subjective, right? So you
Yeah.
see, okay, they may have the nice car, or their family's doing really good, or they have nice clothes, or, whatever success looks to that particular person. And then they're like, I want that person to be my mentor. Okay. So I'm going to go talk to that person. And then they go and try to get up to under that person. And then it's like, oh, well, I don't really align with what you're doing or how you're doing it, but it makes you money. So I'm going to do it.
Hmm.
Right. Or that person is not meant to be a mentor. That person is not meant to be a leader. That person is just finding a way, just like you're trying to find your way.
Hmm.
And at that point, like that is going to be a misalignment with you, and you're going to be ending up wasting time. But then you're also going to become discouraged because you're like, forget mentors. Like they don't care about us. They aren't willing to help
Exactly.
you. But like, that's not true. That's just not your mentor. And you're going to have to go through a bunch of mentors before you find the person that you really connect with and you mesh with. And when you're networking, right, you don't want to network to find what you want out that person, right? Like, I'm going to go and talk to this person because I want to be in this company, or I want to, like, yes, you can strategically think that way, but networking is genuine relationships. Like,
Yeah.
people forget that it's like, hi, how are you? Are you okay? How is your day to day? Like, what is one of the biggest lessons you learned from your parents? What is one of the biggest lessons specifically from an immigrant that you have learned? What was your challenges with learning the language? There are so many other questions that you can get your way through the door, or say like, oh, you were an immigrant too, like how did you learn the language, like what classes did you take, what resources were provided to you, right? Like instead of just saying, how can I get there, I want to be there,
Mhm.
right? Like that's not genuine, and no one wants to help someone that's not genuinely trying to be their friend, right? Like it's important, I think, 100% important to understand that from a networking perspective, you have to be genuine. And if you're not genuine, people are going to pull you out, and they're going to know
That's
exactly what
true.
you want. You're going to go home and you're not going to make no connections. And you're going to be like, oh, I just met 20 people. Those 20 people don't even remember your name, right? So that's a big mistake that I see from that perspective. And then from a finance perspective, because that's really the lens that I see their growth is, for one, not managing the finances that they have appropriately. And by appropriately, I mean sometimes they just don't have enough to get by, and that's okay, right? Like it's not okay, but that's your situation. So how can we flip what you have to be able to get to the next, to get more, to get more? But when we live in scarcity and we're like, I just do not have enough, right? Again, mindset, I just do not have enough. I'm just poor, right? Like, or I just don't have enough. Like, this is getting too expensive. You keep telling yourself that, you're going to believe that. And you're going to be
Yeah.
stuck in that limiting belief. And it's like, no, you do because you want to be an entrepreneur. And if you do what you say you want to do, you can get millions. And we just have to figure out what sacrifices we have to make to get there. Right? Like, yeah, we may have to eat bowls of cereal in the morning, but guess what? If we don't figure out that entrepreneurship, we're gonna be eating bowls of cereal in the morning for longer than we wanted to.
True.
Right? Like we
Mm,
all
yeah.
had to hustle through it and figure it out. And it's not saying, okay, I can't. It's more of like, how long am I gonna be eating this, for me, peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Right? Like, how long am I going to have to take my lunch to work? How long? And those are little sacrifices you have to make. And it's important. But once you put a goal at the end of it, like, all right, I'm only doing this for a year, it's really going to be 6 months. right? Like you're going to
Right.
get to that a lot faster. So that's what I've seen is more of like, again, I speak big on mindset. I think when it comes to finances specifically, that scarcity mindset is super limiting from a finance perspective because the money is out there, the resources are out there. We just have to stand on the lines to figure it out. We got to go to those language classes because, and I want to touch on this too a little bit, is that there's a lot of free language classes. And I used to work in HR for about 2 years, and we worked with a lot of immigrants, specifically from Latin America, and they'll be doctors like with PhDs and masters. And I'm like, why are you here? Why are you here? We only have manufacturing jobs. Why are you here? And they just do not know. And I'm like, you don't like if I send you to a job, it's gonna be $15 an hour, but I have to feed my family. Okay, so what are you gonna do after that?
Hmm.
Right? I don't want you stuck here. Like that's not what you came here for. Like you have medical background, you have so much like and the only thing that stops a lot of corporations from hiring is that language barrier. Take your skills, language, if you're a genuine good-hearted person and you're a hard worker, they're going to invest in you to give you whatever degree or piece of paper to get you through the door.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yep.
Hard workers don't exist, especially over here too much, right? So that mindset is a lot different.
No, powerful. Yeah, I think it's really good that you focus on mindset, right? Because I think like sometimes that is actually like what holds people back the most is just thinking that, oh my goodness, I really can't do this, right? And that is, one of the things, that's why resilient immigrants exist. That's why we're having these types of episodes, right? To let people know that, you can do this, and to hear from people that have done it, right? So, thank you very much for sharing that. So Mr. Yara, I want to come back to you and oh, what happened? I think we lost him. We'll wait for his video to come back on. So just in keeping that mindset theme going, I just want to like to ask you like what are some strategies that you think immigrants can use, to help manage their finances while they're here, and actually just and help them grow their finances and grow their business, right? So like what are some of those strategies that that you've used either personally or like you know of that can help people, like really get their finances to the next level?
Be realistic and stay true to your culture. I think it's easy when you come here and you feel like an imposter that you try to adapt that keep up with the Joneses mentality. And at the end of the day, again, that's not going to help you progress and for the reason why you came here, right? So just be realistic with yourself and realistic with what you have. And don't lose your culture and the values that you came here with because that's going to be the most important. That's what's going to set you apart, right? Like you're unique. You're only you, right? And you're in
Hmm.
this country that's full of a bunch of people that are not like you. Use that to your advantage, right? Stay true to your values, stay true to your culture, stay true to what you believe, and apply those beliefs and values and morals to how you approach different scenarios because you're going to pique someone's interest like, oh, why do you think that way? Or why do you approach things in that manner? And then from a finance perspective, be realistic with what you have and then use that to again get ahead. Like if I came here with $1,000, right, and there's a certification course that's maybe $700, and then maybe I still got to eat for the next couple of days, and maybe I'm staying with family so I don't have to pay rent. All right, cool. How can we disperse this out a little bit? Maybe I can say, call that person for the certification class and say, hey, can I do payment plans? Then I go to that, say, staffing agency and get that $15 an hour job. But why? Because then I get a couple little extra dollars in my pocket. I can eat tomorrow, and then boom, I could pay the rest of that certification course off, right?
Hmm.
But you have to have a plan to like a lot of people like to talk about budgeting, and I don't talk about budgeting until I understand what your plan is. Like, what are you trying to do right now? Because I can't tell you how to spend your money until I know what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And I mean on a wide scope, like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, like, do you want to bring more family over? Do you have to pay tithes home? Do you have to pay tithes to your church? What are those core belief values that you need or that help you and your family still have that morale? And then at that point, we can start to make a little bit more sense of where your finances go, how that entrepreneurship is going to work. Maybe you're not an entrepreneur, and that's okay. Maybe you're a 9 to 5 with a side hustle. So what? That's still an entrepreneur, right? You're just still have your base job and you're still making some side money, even better. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but there's a lot of different ways to make money. And I say you need 7 streams of income to really say that you're wealthy. And that could be one job, a side hustle, investments, your retirement accounts, right? Like we can go into a bunch of different streams, but I say 7.
Interesting. How did you land at that 7? I'm just curious.
My lucky number.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So for me, it's like you, right? If you have a regular job, that's your 1, right? Everyone should have an investment account, like a brokerage or something like that, right? And then everyone's gonna have retirement, especially here. You have your 401k, or maybe you go for your pension, whatever it is, right? So that's 3. If you have a side hustle, that's 4, right? A lot of people talk about investing in oh my God, sorry, blanking, real estate, right? So that's another stream of income. So now we're at 5, right? There is about 14 plus ways, core, if you have a standard job 9 to 5, that you can use to create long-term investment paths or long-term saving paths. So out of that 14, I say you should have 7, right? Like, why not? Like, there's ETFs, there's crypto, there's so many options out there that you got to have to invest some money to get some return back. So
Mhm.
you're going to need, it's going to be on volume, and that volume. And then again, 7, because diversification, right? You can't just use one income. You can't just use your retirement. Your retirement's for something else. That's for like 30, 40 years later. So don't use that now and then expect to have a return later. So that's where my rule of thumb is
Okay. Okay. Fair.
7.
Fair. Yeah. So, Lexus, you're more finance, Yaro, you're more like healthcare, but there's some very like common themes that I've seen across, right? So mindset, I think, is one. Looking for like skills and how you can transfer skills between different industries, I think, is another one. So Mr. Yaro, I think your cam stuff is sorted now. So I want to come to you with a with
Yeah.
a question that I have. So what would like be your advice for like any entrepreneurs that are looking to break into like the supply chain industry, or even health, for example? So what sort of I guess advice would you give to people that are looking to like break into those fields?
Yes, absolutely. That's a very important question. And sorry for the technology. So, basically, my advice for African entrepreneurs aiming to break into global health, global market, is to focus on building a strong network and continuously seek knowledge. Those are 2 key elements. And in field like logistics, supply chain management, healthcare, understanding local regulations play a very important key. Market dynamic, also culture. We have different culture everywhere. You have to pay attention to to the culture, so especially the local culture. Start by engaging with local business communities where you live. you know Build your own network. It can be 3, 5, 6 people. You start from there. Me, I'm part of the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce. You see, coming here in Atlanta here, looking for opportunity, to showcase my skills, be useful to my community. I joined a Chamber of Commerce where I've been serving. I'm still on the board. I facilitate a lot of endeavors. That's how, we can advance. Also, learn about, the business around you is very important. Additionally, leveraging technology. We talk about, technology everywhere, technology, but we have to get into it. We have to know it. Most of us, we are afraid of technology. We try to stay away from it because it's not part of our curriculum in Africa. A lot of people graduate from university that even didn't touch computer. That's true.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
are living a different environment. You are living in a new country where everything is technology. Learn it. Take some time, go learn basic stuff that will help you for sure. So don't ignore technology, and remain competitive. It can be any type of business, but be resilient, as Lexis mentioned. be resilient and have a plan, have a goal, to advance. Don't just get into a business with no plan, with no dream. You're gonna stay there, after 25 years, 30 years, you're gonna be sitting at the same level. Have a plan to grow. Talk to people around you, find you a mentor, not just a cousin who is gonna be jealous, of your success. No, or a friend. No, find a real mentor, somebody who is going to work with you, support you, and help you to advance by finding opportunities, partners. Okay, those are very important. So persistence is key. Breaking into the global market, it's very challenging. It takes a lot. You have to understand a lot of things. I'm taking one example. A friend of mine from California, maybe he's on the panel. I mean, he's watching us. He decided to start a business buying clothes from China and send them to Africa, sell them. Chinese, they have small size, right? They're small. So when they give you a size, Chinese size, you have to know the equivalent, what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You understand the culture. He bought many clothes. I'm telling you, so many thousands of clothes. They took them to Ivory Coast. They're all small. They're
Mm.
all small. Those are size for little boys, little girls. You couldn't sell them. You have to understand the local market. You see, there are many examples like that. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Some of them, they buy from China. If they know that the person is based in Africa, they're gonna sell him bad quality product.
Wow.
Because they understand that they think that in Africa we don't know quality. We just want to
Mm-hmm.
buy cheap stuff.
Yep.
Unfortunately, you get all your product, you pay the logistic, you pay for the freight, sea freight, everything. You spend so much money, you get to Africa, you have poor quality product. But
Mm-hmm.
me, I understood differently. I do business with China. I have my personal business, but I contracted with a local agent. My agent is Chinese. Okay, whatever I need, find me a local supplier. She talk the
Mm-hmm.
language, she knows the culture, she go test the product, and I live by her words. You see? And she even negotiated the price for me. She arranged all the logistics, everything for me. You have to have strategy.
Right. And you also, that collaboration comes into play there as well, like you mentioned before, right?
Definitely.
Collaboration on a global scale. So thank you for sharing that. There's a lot that we've talked through, like even though like it's different industries, but like you can sort of like see similar themes, right? And it's those really like similar themes that I'm trying to pick on. So Lexis, in your last submission, you mentioned like the different like sources of I guess revenue or wealth that that immigrants can use to like help them get ahead. But a lot of people, a lot of immigrants, they may not always have access to all this like information, right? Which is like you guys have already like alluded to here. Like information is key, whether it's from mentorship, whether it's from community, whether it's just understanding the local environment, right? So there's having access to that information. I think is really like important and vital. So, in your experience, like what would be I guess the best way for like people that are new here to go about accessing this information. Bearing in mind that these people that are just like new here, they may not know where to go, they may not know who to ask or where to go to look, right? Because there's a lot of stuff on the internet, but sometimes if you have a lot of options, it can be like really overwhelming for you to know exactly where to look. So like,
Absolutely.
what would be your advice to just immigrants in terms of how should they like navigate this information? Like quagmire, I guess, that sometimes can be so discouraging that people just be like, I'm just gonna go work at McDonald's because like I can't be bothered to do anything else, right?
Right. So let me tell you the two-prong problem there. For one, it's language, right? And we touched on that a little bit, so I'm not gonna like, bang on it anymore. But you see that, right? When you go into a public assistance let's just say public assistance office, right? They offer access to that information in every language that you could think of. 40 something languages, right? You can get that. When I have an investment paperwork, it's only English. So you need to find an advisor that you trust that speaks your language to go through the investment paperwork and hope that they're working in your best interest and it's translated from that person's perspective. That's a problem, right? That's why I'm going back for my master's to head on that problem. We're going to talk about that later. But that's a big thing because that's a lack of access, right? So how can you expect these these different people from different walks of life to really attain that American dream if you don't even have paperwork that is actually putting them ahead in their
Hmm.
language? That's one. Two, I'm going to say the resources are out there. They're scarce, right? It's a pain to get. You have to be patient. Patience and resilience is the key. Patience. It's going to be a headache. For one, your the language barrier is the biggest headache, right? You don't understand what they're talking about. You don't understand what they need. You don't understand what they require to even get in the door. So you have to be patient with yourself because it's going to be frustrating. Nobody's telling you it's going to be easy, right?
Hmm.
Like you to even get here was difficult. So why would you expect everything to just be easy just because you touch the soil? It's not easy, it's difficult, right? So for one, just be patient with yourself and don't count yourself out. Don't say I do not qualify for something because of X, Y, and Z. How do you qualify for that something given your situation? Is the question you should be asking yourself, right? How can we qualify for this? Maybe you got to go to your cousin, right? Like maybe it's and that at that point that's where collaboration comes in and that's where network comes in. But for the biggest thing is patience and to continue to show up, right? Like continue to show up for yourself. And that's going back to the office maybe six, seven, 8 times to figure out what resources you have available. Maybe it's
Hmm.
waiting 6 months because this English class filled up and now you got to wait another 6 months, but that's okay because you followed up with them. Hey, I want to make sure I'm the first on that list in the next 6 months to be able to go to that class. Right?
Hmm.
Like it's again that persistence and again patience, persistence, patience, and giving yourself some grace. Right? Like it's not easy. And no one said it was going to be easy, but if you came here with a certain objective, then you better go and get that objective because if not, you're going to just end up going back home and then you just wasted years and it's not really what you're looking to do. Get yourself out there and get to it. You got it.
Yeah, powerful, good stuff. Thank you for sharing, Mr. Yer. I want to like pose the same question to you as well. Like, how did you manage to like navigate that information? I guess issue when you first came here to know, okay, these are the places I need to go to. These are the places I need to avoid. Like what was that like for you when you first came to the U.S.?
Very interesting. I like Lex's viewpoint. So, when we come here, of course, our first advisors are our families, and people will know. They tell us right away what to do, what not to do. Sometimes we're wrong, sometimes we're right. It's your own experience now. You know,
Sure.
you are
Yep.
going to distinguish now the truth from the false. And whatever didn't work for them doesn't mean that it will not work for you. You understand what I mean?
Yep.
A lot of people they decided not to go learn the English after 30 years. They still don't speak English here. You know, and when you come, they tell you, "Oh, don't waste your time. Go to school." That's wrong advice. I experienced that just 1 2 months, and I saw that hey, now I have to go to school. You know what I mean? I made my own decision to go learn the language and be where I am. Where I want to be. So those are very important. Also, from our culture, we all from Africa. We have culture. There are things we do. There are things we don't do. You know what I mean? And we come into a new country. We don't want to stereotype people. Label communities, label people, but it is what it is. You come here, people educate you. That's who those people are. This is how. But me, I'm a person who likes to have his own experience to judge people. That's how I am. It's not because I had a bad experience with, a specific ethnicity and then I'm gonna label everybody from that group. You understand what I mean? No,
Yep. Yep.
I do my due diligence. I have my own experience. I learn my lesson and I make my judgment based on that. But we have different culture here, different education, different level. Families come from diverse horizon. So we based on our environment where we live, yeah, let's say here in Atlanta here. I've been here since I came in America. I've been in Atlanta. I never moved somewhere else. So I know what I know is just here. You understand what I mean? I cannot take it to the West Coast. It's not the same. You understand what I mean?
Yep.
So those are just few elements here that I wanted to highlight. But what is important here, I think that for us coming here, especially we coming with skills and we want to shift into a new, I would say, a new environment. So, or new jobs. Okay. So for that, I think it is important for us to understand first where we want to go. Okay, where do we want to go? Let's say at I'm transitioning from IT to logistics, or from logistics to IT. Where I want to go. When you understand that, you understand your skills and you work on it. Let's say one skill that we have as entrepreneurs: problem solving abilities. Okay, whatever field where you go, whatever environment where you're gonna be, showcase your skills, solve your problems. Where I work, my boss likes, I'm a person, problem solver. When a problem comes, I don't rush to my boss. I don't run to my manager. I address the problem. I document everything, and I inform my manager that was the problem. This is how I solved it. How you think? She said, approve, 100%. I'm with you. You see, this is the entrepreneurship skills that we can bring into our new job, our new career.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Again, like looking for similar themes. You guys both talked about the importance of having a plan, like knowing why you came here, because I feel like sometimes that's maybe like overlooked. Like people don't really reflect on that, right? Until, they get here and it's like, things are like so tough and you're like, I have to, I have to just do something, right? It's almost, like people get into that mindset of having a plan. It's almost a reaction of being in like a very difficult situation, as opposed to being intentional and laying out that plan before you move, or before you get here and things like that. So is there anything that you guys can share from your personal experience, or from like from the work that you're doing around helping immigrants to think about, how do we just plan to make sure that when we come here, we have a way, right? That we're not just like flying blind, for lack of a better word. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I want to get to that question, William, but there's a big thing that I forgot in the last question that I really want to like touch on
No,
really quick.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
And that's more of open a bank account. Banks are non-discriminatory and they're not supposed to discriminate against individuals and like based on national region or non-US citizens. Get a bank account. Please. Please. Just get the bank account. You need it. Get the checking account and get the savings account. And high yield savings account would be even better. But they are a little fickle sometimes with proper documentation. So get a savings account just to get yourself started, please. You avoid payday loans. You avoid check cashing fees. All of these things are different ways that they loop the minority community into more fees and having to pay more money out of the hard work dollars and that you're already getting or that you're already working towards and losing just to get your money. Direct deposit, no payday loans, checking and savings account. Start there. After that, you'll start to figure it out a little bit more on the fees and get your experience with bank you like and where you feel more comfortable, and you'll work your way up from there. That's your baseline foundation. Okay, I had to say that, William. I'm sorry. Um, But to the point of, in terms of finding like the goal, when I'm working with someone, I'm really going to ask like, okay, what did you come here for, right? And typically people don't like ask that, and it can be a very emotional conversation because people left their families at home, people left their kids, right? And they're leaving everything that they possibly had to come here. So when you ask them that, they have to really dig deep to even give you an answer. Like,
Hmm.
wait, why did I come here? I don't know. I just left my kids. I just left my mom. My dad is sick, right? Like you'll get all of that all in that one conversation. And then it's like, I want to pull that emotion out of you though. And I want you to go down there because once you're down there, you're going to be like, hmm, I came here because I want a better life for them. Or I came here because I want my child to go to college here. And if I could solidify myself, then I can bring them to come to school and then they can have it a lot easier, right? Like whatever the story is coming from there. So I want you to get deep. I want you to get emotional. I want you to really get into that zone in terms of figuring out why you're here and what you're here for. And then even if like there's some people that just come because they needed a change. And that's okay. You don't have to have the whole world mapped out for you either. You wanted a change, but let's talk about it. What didn't you like? What made you feel like you needed the change?
Hmm.
I don't know. My family's very toxic and I wanted to get away from them, or whatever the case may be. Okay. So, how can we make this work then? What do you need to make this move work? I need a house, right? Or I need somewhere to live. I need consistent income. Then you start to get, okay, so now how can we get that? What do you like to do, right? And then we'll progress on the conversation. But getting those baseline questions answered that no one wants to answer is the start, because they kind of suppress that all and they're like, I've just got to work, I just got to go, and you're like heading straight on. You're going to realize you're going to keep going and hit that
Hmm.
wall because you're disconnecting with your values, your beliefs, your morals, your cultural standards, like everything you're becoming disconnected to because you just continue to hit that brick wall.
Yeah. We actually thank you for that answer, by the way. Like that was very powerful. Well, we are actually like at time here, so we need to like to round up. So can you guys please to both our speakers, can you just please share how the audience can connect with you, like whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, or how can the audience best connect with you if they want to, like get to know you guys better, or even like, engage with you in any services that you may offer.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
go first. Sorry,
absolutely.
Yeah,
ladies
you
first.
can go
My bad.
first.
Forgot the moral code view. You
I
can
can
connect
go
with me on
first.
LinkedIn. My personal LinkedIn is my name right here. Also, you can follow my business on LinkedIn as well, LV Advisory Group Incorporated. You can also view my website, LV Advisory Group Incorporated. Everything's pretty consistent. My Instagram for my corporation, LV Advisory, super consistent. So I'm really easy to find. Please do not hesitate to reach out. You can chat me on LinkedIn. I connect with people on LinkedIn all the time. I post resources, specifically from ages 14 to 19, because I work with a lot of high schools. But if there's something else that you're looking for, you can hit me up and I can point you in the right direction. I'm always giving advice and resources. So please do not hesitate. It will not be weird. I promise I won't make it weird as long as you don't make it weird.
Thank you, Alexis. And Yara, how can the audience connect with
Yeah,
you? Like,
absolutely. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So just get my name, first and last name on LinkedIn. You're gonna find me. And I'm sharing one example here. I have a colleague. We've been working together for the last 8 years. She found me on LinkedIn, and because I was posting, whenever I travel, whatever work I do overseas, I post there, and she did like it, and she networked with me. Today, she's my colleague for the last 8 years.
Wow.
For
wow. Yeah.
so, quick, get my name, my first name, my last name, and search me on LinkedIn, and we will network.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. At Resilient Immigrants, we do believe that knowledge, is the key to thriving and transforming lives. And we hope that this discussion has provided our audience with some valuable insights and inspiration. I know, like, I was inspired by your stories. They were so powerful. There were a lot of similar themes, even though you guys are in different industries that I took away from the conversation. So thank you guys so much for sharing. Um, but to close, I would like, each of you to state your name, and your occupation. And then for Mr. Yarrow, since you're an immigrant, I would like you to say, I'm proud to be a resilient immigrant. And for you, Lexus, since you're not you're third generation,
Yeah.
person here, you would say like, I'm proud to stand with resilient immigrants. So I don't know. I guess you could go first, Lexus, if you want. So just like your name, your occupation, and then the phrase I am proud to stand with resilient immigrants."
My name is Lexis Ferrer, and I am the founder and managing accountant of LV Advisory Group. I'm also a financial analyst for a large health organization. I am also a master's student at NYU, and I stand with resilient immigrants.
Thank you for that. And Mr. Euro.
Hello, everyone. This is Mumin Yaro, Senior Supply Chain Specialist in the Global Health Supply Chain Management, working with Emory University at the Task Force for Global Health. It was a pleasure for me, to spend this hour with you, and I'm a proud, resilient immigrant.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for all the stories that you shared. I'm sure our audience would love it. And just thank you guys for all the wonderful work that you're doing for the community. So with that, thanks everyone, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you for having us, William.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you, Lexis. Bye bye.